Lumination. It is Wednesday afternoon over here in sunny, warm Las Vegas. I felt it's kind of important to put something up right now. There's a lot going on. Whether you care or not, it happens. You don't have to care. I'm just concerned myself, mostly because I like to watch astrology and I look at the planets and I like to correlate that with what's happening here on Earth. I haven't done a lot of videos for personal readings for years now, but I still do it if anyone's interested. The big issue right now is these crisis points. We've talked about it many times on previous videos. Neptune, the crisis degree of desperation, 29 degrees, and Pluto basically in the same region, both on the cusp. So it's very, very challenging, and they're way, way out there. Of course, these are the impersonal planets. So it's very hard to understand or correlate the planets with worldly experience unless you kind of deliberately depersonalize and just simply observe, for better or worse. And that's what I try to do. Anyway, one of the reasons I'm here on my phone is because YouTube main servers through the internet are seriously struggling. It's the same thing happening on Rumble, where I've been trying to do alternate content as a backup, and they're having it's even worse over there for whatever reason. I don't understand it. Traffic, outages, whatever it is. Anyway, a few things have popped up that I think are really important. I just wanted to share, okay? So I don't have my working stage right now. So I'm just going to share things in a very primitive way. Just a few notes. First of all, RIMPAC is active right now. That is the big Pacific Rim military exercise between 25, let's say, countries that align with so-called Western viewpoints, in other words, America. And they're all piled up in the Pacific, the Pacific right now, close to the South China Sea and Taiwan, where of course there's a lot of turbulence already, a lot of bluster, and Mr. Ping is going absolutely berserk because he's probably sitting there in Shanghai or one of his naval ports on the East Coast with another billion people, and he's got his binoculars on and he's watching the RIMPAC stuff go ahead. And he's realizing, oh my God, I'm toast. I'm freaking toast. I don't stand a freaking chance here. Of course, he's not going to say that. It's just the opposite. He's trying to push this incredible bluster about how amazing he is and how he's going to take over the world, just bulldoze Taiwan, but he's going to do it without firing one shot. Sure. Good luck. Anyway, yeah, he's been doing this a long time and it's worked very well in America, but people have figured it out now. And there's a kind of an opposition building up to the Chinese Communist Party, Mr. Ping himself. That's what it is. So there's a lot of resistance, even inside China. Mr. Ping is in very deep trouble inside his own country, and that's why he's trying to consolidate power more and more and more to like a highly compressed level where he literally controls every facet of life in China with the military, finances, banking, stock market, all the debt, everything. He literally believes he can control nature and transform nature according to his will. I think he's insane, really. Anyway, I'm trying to be very polite here. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm just hoping that this little stream here from my phone actually works. So I don't really know. It's hard to tell. I don't have a lot of tools to my side at the moment, so I'm just gonna wing it. So anyway, I was going to say RIMPAC is happening live right now. It is a massive. It's the biggest ever military exercise ever in the history of military exercises. Yes, there was World War II, but that was a war. This is just an exercise. This is just to get things organized between about 25 different countries with all their ships and their planes and their bullets, guns, radar, their satellites, whatever it is they got, troops, amphibian things, parachutes, whatever it is they got. They're practicing how to be organized when things get really, really bad, when somebody from the, let's say, the PLA, People's Liberation Army, do something silly to actually trigger a war. And what's happening is that it's pretty obvious that, yeah, the so-called Western Alliance of RIMPAC, there's a lot of problems because there's been so much bloated corruption and, I don't know, I would say laziness in the last few decades. People just got too comfortable because America was assumed to take care of all the problems. It's not. America is really screwed up right now. Now, here's the thing. Even though Washington is a complete SHIT show at this moment, the U.S. military is just fine. Yes, it has its problems with DEI and ESG and, stale policies and a lot of equipment that really needs to be updated, but it is still a very, very, very scary, formidable force, especially when you combine it with 24 other nations who are all looking to put a roadblock in front of the PLA and Mr. Ping. So that's going on out there, and at the same time, Mr. Ping is realizing that the rest of the world has figured out that his amazing PLA army thing is basically like a facade. It looks like jets, it looks like aircraft carriers, it looks like amphibious machines and bombs and missiles and stuff. But if you see the stuff that I see, it's like, put it this way, a lot of the countries that have been hoodwinked into buying Chinese military equipment are starting to regret their decision because they're seeing equipment fall apart, fail, blow up, backfire, extremely unreliable, and the last thing you want. I mean, what happened in Bolivia the other day, just a few days ago, there was a massive military coup where the military was going to take down the Bolivian government. It was all beautifully planned, and they drove in with all their Chinese, weaponry right into the capital of Bolivia. I can't remember what the capital of Bolivia is. And they drove right up to the front door of their, government and their president or whatever it is. And the machines broke down. The trucks just broke down. The front wheels collapsed. The steering wouldn't work. Some of them just got jammed. They couldn't. It was a complete, utter mess. And the government came out and said, "Excuse me, what are you doing? You're trying to overthrow the government. Come on, get out of your Chinese trucks. Get out. Come on, get out, get out, get out, get out. You're under arrest." And that was it. That was the end of the story. The military coup was over in 3 hours. That's it. So I think it's the same sort of thing that's happening inside China itself. The Chinese people are reaching the point of desperation. It's very frightening. Honestly, it's really frightening. If you think it's really bad here in America, next thing I wanted to mention is that it's sort of like a fair voting act. Hello, Victor. Thanks for visiting. I'm doing this live stream from my phone because YouTube is really screwed up and Rumble is screwed up. This phone stream puts much less pressure on the YouTube servers because it's a much tinier signal and it's going through my beautiful phone. Anyway, we're reaching all these situations of critical mass, of crisis, whatever you want to call it. And it's, in some ways, it's quite mind-numbing because it's just all day, every day. Every day is an emergency. So you wake up and think like, oh, well, it's just another emergency. Okay, which one today? Okay. Anyway, this Fair Voting Act, it was brought forward by about 110 Republicans in the White House, the Freedom Caucus, and all those, white power extremists. Sorry. Just, basically common sense people who are trying to restore sanity in the Constitution and the honor of 1776 and so on. Anyway, they put forward this Fair Voting Act, and the whole idea is to make sure that on November the 5th, 2024, the only people who can vote are people who are legally eligible to vote with a proper ID and so on and so on and so on. And so they codified this whole thing to make it live, real time, right now, to reinforce what is already an extremely sloppy, messed up voting protocol around the country. As we all know, it's pretty screwed up. And we're trying to put some fairness into the process. Anyway, it was just voted and approved. And before it even got the final approval, moments beforehand, an official notice came from the White House, the administration: we do not approve. There's no reason in approving this Fair Voting Act because we have laws in place, all right, that assure fair voting. Okay, obviously those laws are not working. Anyway, so it's what you would expect. So I'm just checking off. I got my notes. I'm just going through the stuff that's really hit me. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. There's massive flooding in China. There's millions of people without power. Millions of people are starving. There's war, exploding everywhere, escalating. We know all that, okay? Israel, Gaza. It's bad and it's getting worse. What can I tell you? Ukraine, Russia. It's bad and it's getting worse. China, Taiwan, it's getting really bad and it's getting worse. It's this compression energy, while Pluto and Neptune are hovering on the cusp of the crises degrees. It's going to be for the next year and a half, almost 2 years. So everything I'm talking about right now is going to be the same storyline in another year from now. Chaos compounded by chaos. In between then, we've got some very critical points astrologically. We've got one coming up very soon. We've got one right now. The moon is opposite Saturn. Okay? When you think of oppositions, there's nowhere to hide. So what's happening, I don't know if you can see it the way I see it, but what I feel is happening in the United States especially, and also in China, is there's a lot of very sick stuff being exposed. I keep going on about this because it's so bad and it's so extreme. Saturn is retrograde in Pisces at maximum power. Okay, so think about that in the 12th, the global 12th house. Think about that. What's the karmic consequence for choosing evil over love? More evil. Okay. However, it's being held accountable. In other words, the perpetrators of evil are now fully exposed, fully in the spotlight. Thank you, Jupiter in Gemini, hard squaring all of this, so in such a way that it's impossible for the perpetrators of evil to hide anymore. They're fully exposed. Whoever you want to think that they are. I have my opinions of who they are. I've shared that many times on my channel. Anyway, yes, I agree. I support proper picture ID. I'm actually very old school. I would like to see traditional paper ballots supervised by voting supervisors. So you can't stick it in a machine. You can have a nice, clean, pretty paper voting, piece of cardboard, but then you slide it in a machine. It's meaningless at that point. Dominion voting machines. Naughty, naughty, naughty. And their derivative machines. Naughty, naughty, naughty. Anyway, the Virgo moon. Astrologically, I think this is very, very important right now. And within about, 18, 24 hours or so, the moon is going to be opposing Neptune. It's even worse. If you think, again, the unhealthy expression of Neptune energy, beautiful, beautiful Neptune, the closest thing to divinity. And of course, the polar opposite of that, there's a fancy word for that, is the absence of love, the absence of divinity, the absence of love, empathy, compassion. In other words, a hollow heart. In other words, where that hollowness happens, it will fill up with evil. Okay. Hello, Sarah. So, again, with the opposition, it's only going to be like a day or half a day or so, but to me, it's very important astrologically to point it out because I see it, I smell it, I can taste it. I think of it as the stench of truth because it's so bad. It's so bad out there. And all the rot is fully exposed all around the world, but especially people are noticing it here in America and in China. The mess is everywhere, but it's globalized now. And so I blame it on the planets, but again, this is perfect. Everything is exactly as it should be. And why is that so? How is that so? It's because it can't be any other way. To me, that's good. It's a problem for the people who perpetrate evil, but I'd rather live in a world with less of that. Anyway, think of the Pisces energy, think of the Virgo energy. The Pisces energy is there just being what it is, abused or deified, beautiful or evil, dark or light, whatever, okay, by choice, per individual, per country, per planet, okay, per humanity, okay? Oh, boy. Hello, Russian Thought Bot. So if you think of the Saturn and Neptune, they're over there retrograde. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So that's what's happening. Everything that is going wrong will go wrong. So we're seeing it. The massive corruption in global politics, global finance, war, corporations, big media, big pharma, telecoms, whatever it is, all the big tyrannical elites. We're seeing that ultimately at the very top, tippity top, like China, for example, it's extremely dirty, extremely corrupt. It's all they care about is power, money, and control. And they realize they've been outed. And so they're scrambling desperately for more power, more money, more control by using even more desperate means. Usually the most desperate means is insanity of warfare. So that's why a lot of people are calling it out and saying it looks like we're heading towards World War III. Frankly, we're already in it, most especially through the financial markets. Okay? So just in passing, I'll finish up with the Virgo moon in this section. Think of the Virgo moon as the impact over here for we the people. Like, what are we going to do about this? Hello, necessary. What are we going to do about this? Okay? I've got to decline this. Sorry. Donald, what can I do? Sorry, he's got me on speed dial. I've got him on speed dial. Sometimes he needs a mini reading, right in the middle of it. He could be out golfing. He could be out at a rally somewhere. Every now and again, I get the call. And I have to do like a 5 to 7 minute mini reading on the spot. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the pressure? Anyway, so think of the Virgo moon, innocent, sweet, well-meaning Virgo moon. Basically, it's a cleanup campaign. Very thankless task. What are we going to do to clean up this mess? What is humanity going to do to clean up this freaking mess? The mess that has been perpetrated by the elites. What are we going to do about it? It's becoming almost coalescing into a real conversation. In politics, it's happening. They go like this, all these heads talking together in Washington. It's just like Republican, Democrat, Joe, Donald. It's insanity. But that's the way it was built, is to get it out there, put it in a space where the protocols are designed to get people to engage with conversation. So you don't have to actually go to physical war. You use lawyers, you use the House of Representatives, you got the House of the Senate, you've got the White House and the executive, you've got the Supreme Court, you've got the Fed, all of that stuff. It's done with guys in suits and ties and women with their formal attire instead of thugs, monsters, whatever. So with the Virgo moon right now, I'm very happy that we're in the Virgo moon, because to me, it's an indication that, okay, imagine I'm a sanitation guy over at McDonald's or something. And it's been pretty rowdy lately. And I arrive the next morning early for my shift and I look around. Oh God, what a mess. Who did this? What am I supposed to do? Thank you, Necessary. Hello, Necessary. So the moon is opposite Saturn right now, and the moon is going to be opposite Neptune in a matter of hours. We're going to transit through that. And from my perspective, it's really about the cleanup campaign. And how are we going to clean house? How are we going to sanitize and fumigate, debug, remove the parasites, remove the cancer cells from American politics and eventually global politics? China's going through something similar. Same thing in Western Europe. Same thing in India. Same thing in most of the countries in Africa, Central and South America. It's the same phenomenon. Okay? So that's happening right now. Now, for most people, a lot of this stuff is like, well, so what? How does it affect me? Why should I care? I am powerless. I have nothing to do with it. The only thing I care about is that my gasoline is so expensive now. My food is so expensive. I can barely get through a month. I can barely scrape through a month. It's so freaking hard. You can't go anywhere, do anything unless you're, I don't know, unless you got a lot of money and you know how to manage it well. Now, oddly enough, I've been around people with a lot of money, and in those worlds, directly and indirectly, quite a few times in my life for reasons nothing to do with what I'm talking about here. But what I've noticed is that people and institutions that have massive amounts of money also have a lot of power. With great power comes great responsibility, and a lot of them behave irresponsibly. In fact, very, very corruptly. When you go to the very, very tippity top, things get very sick Very, very perverse, because once you get addicted to that much power, money, and control, and you say that you want it, and like, I want to be a pop star, and you sign on the dotted line, okay, you want to be a pop star? Well, okay, so you're going to get rich and famous, but you're signing a deal with the devil, and the devil wants his, okay? So, yeah, come and visit us tonight here at the club. You might be a little shocked at what you see when you go in, okay? But get used to it. It's a lot of fun. There's boys and girls doing all these things that, you're not supposed to do, but it's a lot of fun. And don't worry about the cameras that are filming you. That's just for entertainment purposes, okay? So anyway, you get sucked into this like Epstein-type bubble world of corruption, betrayal, and perversion, and sickness, and you have to worship something, Satan, which is basically an empty, hollow thing. The real rich thing is LOVE, GOD, all that kind of stuff, the good stuff, okay? So people make choices, people make decisions. There are some people who are self-made, who don't have to go along with those sort of very ugly, dark shenanigans. But there's a lot of people who go along with it to get what they want. And once you're inside, you can't get out. Well, you might get out, but you'll find there's a bullet lodged in your brain. So anyway, there are people, like I like to watch a few people in the money world, because they see everything I see, but they don't take it personally like I do, or they're not worried about what the planets are doing like we do here. They just go, okay, well, that's what the world is doing. Those are the markets. There's the foreign exchange market. There's, commodity markets. There's a stock market. There's the Dow. There's the S&P. And so on and so on and so on. Gold, silver, oil, gas, wheat, orange juice, tomatoes, soy, whatever it is. And they kind of go, okay, oh, lithium, oh, uranium, all these, buzzwords. Oh, AI, oh, we're going to do all of that. How are we going to make money? So anyway, those are marketplaces. Anyway, there's one guy I like, Mark Moss, and the YouTube videos and YouTube and Rumble platforms are really screwed up at the moment. So I basically did a share onto my X. Okay, I'm now posting a lot more stuff on X because it feels like a safe place for me, and I'm learning to navigate, because I have to. YouTube has become really quite dysfunctional for me. But anyway, we're still here. But so I posted this video. It just came out yesterday. It's from Mark Moss. And what he's talking about is this thing, he calls it a monetary codex or a market codex. It's like this everything code. It's also supposedly originated from this guy, Raoul Paul, who's also big in the YouTube finance world. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. You don't have to be a financier. You don't have to be really rich or anything to learn these things. It's just profound, because it's very much an eye-opener of what really, really goes on in the world of global finance, how it really works as opposed to how you think it works, or you thought it works, or you've been told that it works. Okay? Anyway, that video is there. It's on my X, on Lumination on X. So I highly recommend it. It's really, really worth watching. The charts themselves basically explain a lot. I'll try and condense it and summarize it here in a few seconds if I can, so to see if I can tempt you to go there. I'm not trying to sell his videos, or I've got no affiliation or anything. He doesn't know me. I don't know him or anything. But so the idea is that by constantly stepping back and observing over extended periods of time, the people who are interested in these market cycles start to notice that, yes, there are cycles. Going deep into it, there's Michael Maloney, Raoul Paul, the Ray Dalio, Jim Rickards, and others who've noticed one cycle in particular. It's roughly every 250 years. Wink, wink. Now, how does that correlate with Pluto? Interesting. And there's another sub-cycle that goes 84 years, and it fits very neatly inside the 250 year. That couldn't possibly correlate to Uranus, could it? And so on and so on. I see it from the planets. They have no awareness, but I can see it. That's why it fascinates me, because I see direct correlation between the planets and the markets on a massive global scale for, tens and tens of trillions of dollars in the global markets. So anyway, I was thinking towards the end of this video, he's got to be talking about Bitcoin at some point. There's got to be a correlation with Bitcoin, because Mark is a Bitcoin maximalist. Okay, so he's going to find a way to weave it into the storyline. Anyway, so one of the most important chapters of the story is this cycle. It's a 4-year business cycle. I'm trying to do a very simplified version of the chart. The way the world financial system works, it's fiat money, money by decree. It has no value except by dictate, especially from the Federal Reserve and the United States Treasury in collusion with the federal government. The United States dollar exists because it does. There's no correlation to gold anymore or anything like that. It's pure fiction, and there is no, let's say, 0 point anymore, because that was vaporized in the early 70s, okay? So the only real, let's say, benchmark anymore today is the dollar itself. The problem is with this system is that the dollar itself fluctuates as a benchmark. And so that makes it very difficult for the rest of the world. Like, wait a minute, the dollar's here. Okay, so we got to go here now to balance. Wait a minute, the dollar's going here. Well, we got to go here. Whew, that was tough. Oh, God, it's dropping. Now we got to go here. Because if they don't stay in parity, they end up being victims of the behavior of the dollar. The behavior of the dollar is dictated by the United States Federal Reserve banking system. That's it. They're at the very pinnacle of the global elite, okay, along with the Bank of International Settlements and so on. So anyway, and it's like that for all the central banks, but especially the U.S. Fed. So anyway, all of that money exists through the creation of debt. Okay, they press a button and more currency is issued, just like with a mortgage or a car payment or a credit card. The money never existed. It's just currency that was originated on a computer. Because it's all coordinated. It's all part of this mind-bogglingly effective scam. So it's an illusion. It's an incredibly successful illusion. It works extremely well for the elites. Anyway, so the way the cycles work is that in order to keep the global system going, debt has to be created over and over and over and over again. In other words, print more money. Of course, side effect is every time you print more money, the value of your existing money goes down because it's being diluted by the extra number of dollars chasing a finite number of resources. In other words, it takes more and more and more dollars to buy the same thing. Gasoline, food, houses, cars. Where I live, there's absolutely no difference in the structure and integrity of this house from today than it was 40 years ago. On the other hand, the sticker price is here compared to where it was 40 years ago. The only reason that is so is because of inflation. Inflation equals expansion of the currency. Okay, so that's the principle behind it. To keep, okay, I don't want to get into all the treasury stuff, but effectively what happens, you got to balance out the debt as you go along. And it takes about 3 years to the point where, damn, things are getting very difficult. We're going to have to balance things out. And so the Fed floods with more currency. And then that eases off the pressure. And it happens very accurately every 4 years. And they show it on these charts. And I never knew about it. I never heard about it until Mark and Raoul Paul. And they learned about it by observation. And it's a piece of information that basically the Fed does not want you to know, because once you know that information, then you can play the market. You see, there's other markets. Like, for example, we already know that the S&P 500 and the Dow, they correlate directly with the issuance of currency. And the M2 money supply, American M2, okay, it goes up and up and up and up and up and up. The Dow goes up and up and up and up and up. It's a direct correlation. So all you have to do is buy the Dow or buy the S&P, and your stock portfolio will go up and up and up and up. In the short term, it's going to go up, down, down, down. But over a period of 4 years, it's going to go up and then up and so on and so on. So there's a lot more things going on in the video from Mark. But what I wanted to share especially was this 4-year cycle. It's right towards the very end of the video. And I was thinking, when is he going to talk about Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin is very tightly correlated to a 4-year cycle called a halvening. So somebody very smart figured all this stuff out. But there's a 4-year cycle. Money is pumped, pump, 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 then rebalance. Choke, choke, choke. Pump, 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 choke. Pump, 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 choke. Pump, 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 choke. It's a 4-year cycle. And it basically recalibrates all the debt in such a way that the American Fed and all the other central banks can breathe again, so they don't just have a permanently expanding system which is guaranteed to explode. What they do is they do these increases, and then they deliberately do an implosion to give everybody a bit of a breather and start all over again. So I thought, okay, that's very cool. If I was a stock investor and I knew how to do that, obviously you buy the dips. So every 4 years, when you see it go like this, you buy the dips on your favorite stocks or whatever it is, different types, lithium, uranium, something, whatever it is. And then you ride it up, and 3.5 years later, let's have a look, 3.5, okay, we're gonna sell. Bammo, ka-ching. And then everything crashes. And you just sit there and wait another 6 months, and then you take some of your profits and your earnings from the last cycle. You buy a bunch of stuff at dirt cheap prices, watch it ride up, just sit there. Just wait for another 3-4 years. Watch the market. It'll go and just don't get greedy before it actually starts to go, because it goes extremely quickly when it flips. Sell. And you just repeat. Okay, so it's a pattern. So that's Mark's system. That's one of his systems. He's got many, and he's a genius, and he can afford to do it. I can't, so I don't. Anyway, the beautiful thing is that there's this Bitcoin correlation. Now, here's the thing. Have you noticed that Bitcoin took a big dump lately? It happens to correlate pretty much exactly with that 4-year cycle I was mentioning, okay? Give or take a few months. So it's a beautiful thing. So if you're a Bitcoin maximalist and you know what's going on, you know about the Bitcoin halvenings, you know about the 4-year dumping cycle and so on, what you do is you basically decide, okay, this is easy. I'm just going to buy Bitcoin on the dips. Some people do dollar cost averaging. They just buy $100 every week and they don't think about it. Other people want to ride the waves. Like Mark is a very good surfer, a real life surfer. So he understands waves and patterns very well. So I thought it was absolutely fascinating because then he took the Bitcoin charts and showed how they correlate pretty much exactly to this 4-year pump and dump cycle for currency. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, the correlation with the M2 global supply and the S&P and the Dow and all of that is pretty much exact, give or take a few points here and there. So when it dumps, and the S&P and the Dow dump, and then it all starts all over again. But with Bitcoin, it's a lot more volatile because it's still extremely new as a phenomenon. So the emotional surge goes with it. Oh, when people get high, like, whoa, Bitcoin's up. And then, oh my God, it's crashing. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. So it's a much more extreme pattern. So what he does, he buys the dip. Bitcoin crashes. So he's probably sitting there waiting for Bitcoin to go to 50,000 or something, and then wait for about 4 years till it goes up to 150, 200,000. By that time, everybody will have forgotten this little video and his little video, and they'll be saying, Mark, how the hell did you make all your money? And he would just go, well, I'm just ride the wave, baby. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because I like patterns too, but I correlate them with planets, and I'm not a stockbroker, and I'm kind of scared of those things, even though I like to watch. Maybe I'm a bit of a voyeur. I don't know. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you. It's the last notes that I have here on my notes today. And it's all about, again, you got to reveal it to heal it. What are we going to do? How are we going to clean up this mess? First of all, you have to identify the mess and know what it is and how it works and where it comes from. And how toxic is it? Why is it toxic? And what are we going to do? Is there anything can we transform this into something good? Alchemy. Think of the Scorpio energy, which is coming up in a couple of days. How do you turn garbage into gold? How do they take sewage water and turn it into purer water than comes out of some wells? And so on and so on. There's a process. So I just wanted to share that. We're all learning and growing at the same time, but things that were happening in July 1776 were on this kind of scale, and the seeds were planted in America back then, and the rest of the world has kind of figured out, like, wow, I wouldn't mind having some of what you guys have in America. Let's say I'm in Cambodia or, I don't know, Zimbabwe. I wish we had this. Oh, wow. Wouldn't that be nice? So anyway, the world is waking up, but it's starting all over again. And this time the whole world is involved. It isn't just, the settlers and the founders in 1776 in America. It's the whole freaking planet. It's going through a July 4th, 1776 moment, including the global financial system. Okay. Anyway, thank you for hanging out with me. No music, no stages or anything like that. Thank you for hanging out. I love you guys. I'll see you guys soon. Okay. I'm going to check out now. See if I can do that. Yes, we're stopping. Toodaloo.